The trail marker was wrong. I noticed it at 4:47 p.m. when the light was already dying between the trees. The white blaze on the oak pointed left, but there was no path left. Just dense forest. Just shadows pooling like ink between the trunks. My map said the shelter was 2 miles ahead, but the marker said something else. Few people understand what silence really sounds like. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of waiting. The Appalachian Trail stretches over 2,000 miles through some of the oldest mountains on Earth. Millions walk it every year. Most make it home. But some stories never leave those woods. This is what really happened. Deep in the green tunnel, where the cell towers don't reach, where the maps sometimes lie. Before we go deeper into the darkness, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because here at Chills from Reality, every story leaves a mark, one you might not forget. The first story starts with a sound. Sarah was hiking alone in the Smokies. Day 3 of a solo section hike. Experienced, prepared. She knew the rules. Make noise, stay on the trail, camp before dark. She did everything right. Everything. The sun was setting when she heard it. A child crying, somewhere off the path, maybe 50 yards into the trees, high-pitched, desperate, the kind of sound that pulls at something primal in your chest. She stopped walking, listened. The crying continued. Closer now. Or maybe not. Sound moves strange in the mountains, echoes where it shouldn't, disappears where it should carry. She called out, asked if someone needed help. The crying stopped. Instantly, like someone hit pause. The forest went completely silent. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just her breathing, just her heartbeat thudding in her ears. Then the crying started again. But this time it came from behind her. Back down the trail, back the way she'd come. Same voice, same desperate sobbing, but impossible. Nothing could move that fast through that terrain, nothing human. Sarah did what her gut told her. She ran forward, away from the sound, her pack bouncing, her boots hammering the dirt. She ran until her lungs burned, until the sound faded, until she reached the shelter. 3 other hikers were there, cooking dinner, laughing, normal, safe. She asked if they'd heard it. The crying. They looked at each other. One of them, an older man with a gray beard, put down his spoon. He asked where she'd heard it. She told him, near the creek junction, about 2 miles back. He nodded slowly, said that's where they found the body in 1987. A little girl, lost from a camping trip, wandered off the trail. They found her 3 weeks later. Too late. The man said hikers still hear her sometimes, usually just before dark, usually when they're alone. Sarah didn't sleep that night because at 2 a.m. she heard it again, right outside the shelter, a child's voice calling for mommy, calling for help. But when she looked through the mesh, there was nothing there, just darkness, just trees, and the sound of something moving, something breathing, something that wasn't a child at all. The second story involves a tent that shouldn't exist. Marcus was through hiking from Georgia to Maine, 5 months on the trail. He'd seen everything, rain, snow, heat, loneliness, but he'd never seen this. He set up camp at a designated site near the Virginia border. Nice spot. Flat ground, water nearby, 2 other tents already there. He nodded to the occupants. A couple. They nodded back. Normal trail, courtesy. He cooked his dinner, hung his food bag, crawled into his tent as the stars came out. He fell asleep to the sound of the wind in the pines. He woke to absolute silence, the kind of silence that feels wrong. He checked his watch. 3:17 a.m., something had woken him. But what? Then he heard it. A zipper. Slow, deliberate. Someone opening a tent. He assumed it was the couple. maybe a bathroom break. He closed his eyes, tried to sleep, but then he heard footsteps right outside his tent, circling, slow circles, around and around. He froze, held his breath. The footsteps stopped directly outside his door. Silence, then a whisper, so close it could have been inside his tent. "Are you awake?" Marcus didn't answer, didn't move. His heart hammered against his ribs. The voice came again. Same whisper, same proximity. "I know you're awake." He waited. 5 minutes. 10. The footsteps moved away, back toward where the other tents were. He heard a zipper again, then nothing. He didn't sleep the rest of that night. He sat up, knife in hand, waiting for dawn. When the sun finally rose, he unzipped his tent, looked around the campsite. The couple's tent was gone. No sign they'd ever been there. No flattened grass, no tent stakes, nothing. He walked to where their tent had been. The ground was undisturbed, old leaves, no footprints. He checked his surroundings. He was alone, completely alone. But he'd seen them, talked to them, heard them moving in the night. He packed up fast, didn't stop for breakfast, hiked 12 miles before he felt safe enough to rest. At the next shelter, he asked other hikers about the site, about the couple. An old woman with kind eyes and worn boots listened to his story. She asked what they looked like. He described them. Young, maybe late 20s, matching blue jackets. She nodded, said 2 people matching that description disappeared from that exact campsite in 2003, vanished during the night. Their tent was found empty, zippers open from the inside, their gear scattered, but no bodies, no trail, no explanation. Rangers searched for weeks, found nothing. She said some hikers still see them, setting up camp, acting normal, until the middle of the night, when they come looking, asking questions, trying to understand what happened to them. Marcus never camped alone again. Would you have stayed in that tent? Or would you have run the moment you heard that whisper? Tell me in the comments. The third story is about a shelter that had too many beds. The shelters along the Appalachian Trail are simple. 3 walls, a roof, wooden sleeping platforms. They're placed every 10 to 15 miles. First come, first served. You share space with strangers. You follow unspoken rules. You mind your business. Most nights, it works fine. Most nights. Jennifer reached the shelter just before dark. Late October, Pennsylvania. The leaves were falling. The air smelled like rain. 3 people were already there. 2 men, 1 woman. They greeted her, made room, normal trail hospitality. She dropped her pack, set up her sleeping bag on the platform, ate a cold dinner. Everyone settled in as the light died. She woke around midnight, needed water. She sat up, fumbled for her bottle. That's when she noticed. There were 5 people in the shelter now, not 4, 5. She counted again. 2 sleeping bags to her left, 2 to her right, and 1 more at the far end of the platform, in the darkest corner. She hadn't heard anyone arrive, hadn't heard footsteps, hadn't heard a pack drop. She lay back down, told herself she'd miscounted, told herself it was fine. But something felt wrong. The air felt too cold, too heavy. She pulled her sleeping bag tighter, tried to sleep. Then she heard it, breathing, wet, labored, coming from the far corner, from the 5th person. The breathing got louder, faster, like someone struggling, like someone drowning. She wanted to check, wanted to help, but her body wouldn't move. Fear pinned her down. The breathing continued for 10 minutes, 15, then it stopped. Sudden, complete. Jennifer didn't sleep again. She lay there, eyes open, waiting for dawn. When the sun finally touched the shelter, she sat up, looked at the far corner. There was no sleeping bag there, no pack, No person, just empty platform, she asked the others, the two men and the woman. Asked if they'd heard anything during the night. They shook their heads. Said they'd slept fine. One of the men, a through hiker with a journal, flipped through pages. He said something interesting. Said this shelter had a reputation. 4 people died here in the 1970s, carbon monoxide from a faulty camping stove. They fell asleep and never woke up. He said the shelter was rebuilt after that. New wood, new roof. But the foundation stayed the same. He said some people still hear them. The 4 who died, breathing, struggling, trying to wake up. But they never do. Jennifer hiked 20 miles that day, put as much distance as possible between herself and that shelter. But sometimes, when she tries to sleep, she still hears it. That wet, labored breathing, that sound of someone dying, over and over, forever. Before we continue, if this story made your skin crawl, hit that like button. Because the fear doesn't stop here. It only gets darker. The 4th story is about a man who followed the wrong trail. David was hiking in North Carolina, the Nantahala section. Beautiful country, waterfalls, rhododendron tunnels. He'd been on the trail for 2 weeks. Comfortable, confident, maybe too confident. He missed a turn. Simple mistake. Took a side trail that looked maintained. Followed it for a mile before he realized something was wrong. The blazes weren't white anymore. They were red. Faded red. Like old paint, like dried blood. He stopped, checked his map. This trail wasn't on it. Not marked. Not official. He turned around, started back, but the trail behind him looked different now. Narrower. Overgrown. He walked for 20 minutes. Should have reached the junction. Didn't. The trees grew closer together. The light grew dimmer. His phone showed no signal. His GPS showed nothing. Just a blank screen. He kept walking. The trail twisted. Turned back on itself. He passed the same tree 3 times. A massive oak with a scar down its trunk. Like someone had carved something. Or something had clawed. He started running. Panic rising in his throat. The trail seemed to shift. To move. To lead him in circles. He stumbled. Fell. His hands hit something soft. Something that wasn't dirt. He looked down. Bones. Small ones. Animal maybe. Or maybe not. He scrambled back. Kept moving. The trail finally opened. Spit him out onto a familiar path. The white blazes. The real trail. He checked his watch. He'd been lost for 4 hours, but his map said that side trail was only half a mile long. At the next town, he asked about it. Showed locals where he'd turned. They went quiet. One old man said that trail has been closed for decades. Since the 1960s, used to lead to an old logging camp, but people who went up there started disappearing. 3 in 1 summer? Just gone. Rangers shut it down, blocked it off, but the trail keeps coming back, keeps appearing, keeps leading people in. The old man said if you follow that trail, it takes you somewhere else. Somewhere that looks like the forest, but isn't. Somewhere the trees watch. Somewhere you're not supposed to leave. He said David was lucky. Said most people who find that trail don't find their way back. David never hiked alone again. And he checks every single blaze, every single turn. Because he knows now, some trails don't lead anywhere. Some trails just take. The 5th story is about voices in the fog. It happened in Maine, the 100-mile wilderness, the most remote section of the entire trail. No towns, no roads, no easy exit, just forest, just mountains, just miles of isolation. Rachel and Tom were hiking together, married, experienced. They'd done this before. They knew how to handle themselves. The fog rolled in on the 3rd day, thick, white, suffocating. Visibility dropped to maybe 15 feet. They stayed close, called to each other, kept their pace slow. Then Rachel heard it. Her name. Someone calling her name. From ahead, from inside the fog. Tom's voice. But Tom was right behind her. She turned, looked at him. He was staring at her, confused. Said he'd heard her too. Calling him. From up ahead. They stopped walking. Listened. The voices came again. Rachel's voice calling Tom. Tom's voice calling Rachel, but slightly wrong, slightly off. Like a recording played at the wrong speed, like something imitating them. They held hands, moved forward slowly. The voices continued, always ahead, always out of sight, leading them deeper into the fog. Tom stopped, said they should stay put, wait for the fog to lift. Rachel agreed. They sat down, backs against a tree. The voices didn't stop. They circled now, surrounding them. Rachel's voice from the left, Tom's voice from the right, both voices from behind, both voices from ahead, overlapping, echoing, growing louder. Then new voices joined, a child, an old man, a woman laughing, a dozen voices, all calling their names, all speaking in chorus. The fog pressed closer, colder. Rachel felt something brush her shoulder. Something that wasn't Tom. She grabbed his hand, squeezed hard. The voices rose to a crescendo, then stopped. Instant silence. The fog lifted as quickly as it came. Within minutes, it was gone. Clear blue sky, warm sun, normal forest sounds, birds singing, leaves rustling. They stood up, looked around. They weren't where they'd stopped. They were half a mile off trail, on a ridge they didn't recognize. Their packs were gone, just vanished, but their water bottles were sitting neatly on a rock, side by side, caps off, empty. They hiked out that day, didn't stop, didn't look back. At the ranger station, they reported what happened. The ranger, a woman in her 50s, wasn't surprised. She said it happens. The fog, the voices, usually in that section, usually in late summer. She said the forest is old, older than the trail, older than the towns, old enough to remember when humans weren't welcome, old enough to play tricks. She said the voices are trying to help, in their own way, trying to lead you somewhere safe, or at least somewhere they think is safe, but safe for them isn't safe for us. She said, if you hear your name in the fog, don't answer, don't follow, just wait, just survive. Rachel and Tom finished the trail, but they never hiked in fog again. Could you trust your own voice? Could you ignore it calling from the mist? Let me know below. The sixth story is about a hiker who saw himself. Paul was solo hiking in Vermont. The Green Mountains, gorgeous terrain, rolling peaks, dense forest, good weather. He'd been out for 5 days, feeling strong, feeling connected. That trail high that long-distance hikers talk about. Everything felt right until he saw the hiker ahead. The figure was maybe 100 yards up the trail. Same build as Paul, same pack, same blue jacket. Paul assumed it was another solo hiker. He picked up his pace, wanted to catch up, maybe share some trail. But as he got closer, something felt wrong. The hiker's gait, the way he moved, familiar, too familiar. The hiker turned a corner. Paul followed. The trail straightened out. He should have seen him, but the trail was empty. Paul stopped, confused. No side trails, no place to go. He kept walking, faster now. Around another bend, there, the hiker again. Standing still this time, back turned. Paul called out. The figure didn't respond. Paul walked closer, 20 feet, 10 feet, close enough to see details. The blue jacket, the pack, the boots, his boots, the same scuff mark on the left heel, the same tear on the shoulder strap. The hiker turned around. Paul's face looked back at him. Not similar, not like, exact. Same scar above his right eyebrow, same crooked nose, same expression. but empty, hollow, like looking at a photograph, like looking at a mask. The other Paul smiled. Not a friendly smile, a wrong smile. Too wide, too knowing. Paul stumbled backward, tripped, hit the ground. When he looked up, the figure was gone. He scrambled to his feet, ran hard, didn't stop for 2 miles. At the next shelter, other hikers were there. He asked if they'd seen anyone matching his description. They said no, said he was the first person they'd seen all day. One of them, a woman with intelligent eyes, asked what happened. Paul told her everything. She listened, then pulled out a small notebook, flipped through pages. She said she'd been collecting stories, weird trail experiences, unexplained events. She said 3 other people reported seeing themselves on the trail. Different years, different sections, but always the same. A perfect copy. Walking ahead, turning around, then vanishing. She said one theory involves time. The idea that the mountains are so old, so saturated with history, that sometimes moments overlap. Sometimes you see yourself from another timeline, another possibility. Or sometimes you see what the trail thinks you are. Your reflection, your shadow, your truth. Paul asked what happened to the others, the ones who saw themselves. She closed her notebook, said 2 quit the trail immediately, never came back. The third kept hiking, but he changed, became quieter, more withdrawn, started talking about how the trail was watching, how the mountains knew things, how he wasn't sure which version of himself was real anymore. Paul finished his hike, but he never looked too far ahead, never tried to catch up to other hikers. Because he knows now, some things you see on the trail aren't other people. Some things are you, and that's worse. The 7th story is the one that never ended. The trail goes on forever. That's what they say, 2,000 miles. But really, it's infinite. Because the people who walk it carry it with them, in their dreams, in their fears, in the quiet moments when they're alone. The Appalachian Trail isn't just a path. It's a threshold between civilization and wild, between known and unknown, between what we tell ourselves and what's actually true. James finished his through hike in 2019, 6 months. Georgia to Maine. He summited Katahdin, touched the sign, took the photo, celebrated with other hikers, went home, back to his job, his apartment, his normal life. But something followed him. He started hearing things. Footsteps in his apartment. When he was alone, heavy boots, hiking boots, walking down his hallway, stopping outside his bedroom door. He'd wake at 3 a.m., the same time he'd wake on the trail. When the forest was darkest, when the sounds were strangest, he'd lie there, listening, waiting. The footsteps would pace back and forth, then fade, never entering, never leaving, just there, just present, just watching. He went to therapy, tried medication, tried meditation, nothing helped. The footsteps continued, every night, same time, same pattern. He moved apartments, moved cities, didn't matter. The footsteps followed, because they weren't in his apartment. They were in him, part of him now, part of what the trail gave him, or took from him. James went back to the trail last year, hiked the same section where everything felt different, where the fear started, Southern Virginia, near that shelter, the one with too many beds. He camped there, alone, waited for night. The footsteps came, but this time he stood up, faced them, asked what they wanted. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a voice, his own voice, but distant, echoing. "Oh, you left, but we're still here, still walking, still waiting." James hasn't been back since. But the footsteps continue every night, same time. He's learned to live with them, learned to accept, because the trail never really ends. It just changes, shifts, becomes something you carry, something that carries you. Some people walk the Appalachian Trail and find themselves. Some people walk it and lose themselves. And some people walk it and realize they were never alone. Not on the trail, not off it, not ever. The forest is always watching. The mountains always remember. And the trail never forgets. If these stories made your heart race, hit that like button and subscribe. Because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. It walks with you. In the dark, in the silence, in the moments when you're sure you're alone. But you're not. You never are. The trail made sure of that.